And I am joined once again by a full house. I am joined by Liam, I am joined by Craig, I am joined by Harry, and Hibs are officially a top six football team. Harry, how are you doing?
Mate, you know the rules. Hibs are good, Harry's good. So I guess I'm top six now, yeah. I guess I'm top six. Well, yeah, no, feeling good after the weekend, mate.
I'm glad to hear it. And Liam, you obviously highlighted this at the weekend, but so I just instead of asking you how you are, I just wonder, is there anywhere that you've never lived that you'd love to go back to?
I've probably spent about as much time as Martin Boyle in Australia, so I'll choose Australia, I think. Easy answer.
Craig, you well?
Not bad. I'm glad we're starting the journalist digs off nice and early. I've got a few to get in today as well. So
Oh, there's been some howlers on the back of the weekend, isn't there? Look, let's not go straight into the game. Like I say, Hibs are officially top six football club as we enter the sort of second half of the league. Results have probably went against us a little bit in terms of if we're looking above us in the league this weekend. Aberdeen picking up a point, Dundee United winning. Harry, you are ever the optimist, apart from the last 6 months. Can Hibs finish third in the league this season?
Um, I'm still of the mindset that I think, and it's weird because there's no substance to it, but I just think that Aberdeen are going to come good. I don't know why. Like I just think they got that many points at the start of the season. I think they were playing relatively nice football. And they've obviously spent is it over 2 million already in January. I think they've probably still got some money to spare. So I think Aberdeen are probably going to push for third. But I don't think there's another team in the league aside from them and the old firm that are better than us. I genuinely think Hibs at the current moment are the fourth best team in the league. And if we strengthen, like literally just add a bit of depth so that we can bring off quality, well, even just good options off the bench as opposed to subpar, I think that will be a really good place going into the second half of the season.
I mean, look, we will avoid turning this into a Dundee United podcast like we did a couple of weeks ago. But Hibs are currently 8 points behind Dundee United, Craig. Do you think that's too much of a gap to make up on the team in third? But we are only six behind, no, sorry, yeah, six behind Aberdeen, who do have a game in hand, but is at Ibrox on Wednesday night in fourth.
no, I don't think it's too much to make up. I don't think it's impossible, but I don't see us doing it, to be honest. I think our form will level out at some point. Obviously, it's been kind of the two extremes from the start of the season to the middle of the part of the season. And I would imagine we'll level out at some point and just start picking up the usual sort of quota of points. And I don't think Dundee United will slump enough to let us overtake them. But you never know. It's possible. So why not?
Is that rooted though in your belief that Hibs simply must lose again soon because of the run we're on? Like as you said last
Absolutely.
week,
That's
lots
that's
of
that's my
averages.
entire sort of like thinking when it comes to Hibs. Is like we've got to lose at some point. We've won far too many games and not lost in far too many games recently. So it's got to happen at some point. And I think our form recently, results wise, has been very very good, and I think it's only natural that it levels out at some point.
William, I'll give you the casting vote here. Craig's maybe leaning towards no. Harry's went for a yes. Are we going third place? Are we getting European group stage football? If that's even an offer this year, I don't know.
So the pragmatist within me would, and probably what I'd normally do is side with Craig, just on the basis that I do think, law of averages, we do just have to level out at some point. But the romantic within me says, why can't we just keep this run going for a little bit longer? And I do think ultimately where we finish this season will largely hinge upon the business that we do in the next 20 days, because it doesn't close to the 3rd of February,
In
by the
that, yeah.
lads. So another 20 days to get bodies in. I do think if we were to get a Maulida type signing in and a CG Egan Riley type signing in, two previous January window signings, and maybe one or two others of a similar level of quality, I do think it would be absolutely within the realms of possibility. But that is clearly quite a lot to ask of the people who are running recruitment at Hibs. But if we were to get some really quality acquisitions in, I think it's still possible, because I do think Dundee United have to fall off at some point as well. They will
Yeah.
have a period where they will probably go 7 or 8 without a win, because frankly, they're just not that good.
Yeah, I mean, oh, I think there's a good chance that we do. You know, why not? I'd lean on there's a good chance that we do. But of course, we're sitting here full of this optimism. Sorry, Craig, other than yourself, you need to get with the programme. On the back of a really good and fairly comfortable home win against Motherwell at the weekend. What did you make of the game and sort of the pre-game changes with obviously Levitt and Warren O'Hara coming back into the team?
Sorry, was that question for me?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. I thought you were just slagging me in that wee intro, actually. Uh, I was happy. I was really happy to see Levitt in the starting 11. I like him. I've said to you on here before that I like him. I know that other people have doubts about his athleticism in this and physicality in this league. His wee cameo at St Johnstone, we were at the game and I thought he'd done okay in that game. And I was happy again with him on Saturday. Was it?
Everyone's just looking like they're about to start pushing themselves. I certainly feel like that's the first time I've caught shades from yourself in a while. So I think that's why I started to laugh. I was surprised to see O'Hara come back into the team. Liam, you're probably of all of us maybe had the most question marks over Miller in that position. So what did you make of the centre backs inclusion at the weekend?
I think if everyone's fit, I think probably the only change in that three you're making is maybe potentially Ekpiteta in for Rocky. I do think you O'Hara. I don't know how much of right centre back in the three he's played in his career, but I do think he does look slightly more natural there than Miller. He's a good passer of the ball. I think, question marks over how he's defended so far, but I think he's actually quite a good passer of the ball, O'Hara. He's maybe not quite got the sort of rampaging run that Miller has. And to be fair to Miller, some of his crosses from that sort of inside channel are actually quite effective as well. So maybe it's maybe it's much of a muchness. I think you play O'Hara there because he's defensively more capable and more stable for the most part.
Yeah. Well, Harry, you've been championing Dylan Levitt for the last, I don't know, however many months. Like genuinely, you've been quite consistent in your opinion. Did you see enough in his sort of, was it 60 minutes roughly, give or take, that he played at the weekend to suggest that he should be trying to become a mainstay in this Hibs side?
I don't know if it's the same as you guys, but for me, I just enjoy watching football. Like I enjoy watching footballers who are actually fun to watch, and I just think Dylan Levitt's just a very aesthetically pleasing footballer in the way he does things. Like he moves the ball really quickly. He's got a few nice touches. He's very cheeky with a body feint or two. You know when someone moves slightly and it just opens up about 5 yards of space from. And something Craig calls out quite a lot is he loves it when players like skip the extra
Yeah, so I was
pass.
just about to say he missed
So
someone out.
he's so good at picking it up at like left, centre, mid, and pinging it right out to right wing. Like in terms of games like that, I know, like personally, I think that there should be a way that we should fit him into every game, but especially in games that we get to dictate the tempo and the play. Like I just think he's a really good player to have in the team. Like I know he's probably got his defensive frailties that we've seen before, but if you can guard that and probably with having free at the back and with a like holding midfielder like Triantis who's pretty much a box to box or even an attack midfielder at this point. I just think that Levitt should be in and around the game and at least get in rotational minutes if he's like I think keeping him on the bench and not playing him at this point would be a bit weird unless he played himself out of being in the team.
There's a couple of times at the weekend. Sorry, Liam, I didn't realise you were going to come in there. There's a couple of times at the weekend, just what you mentioned previously, that where Levitt was using his body so well. Like the ball comes into him, and he just sort of feints going one way, sends the defender, and then goes the other way. But I just like he's just a nice footballer to watch.
I agree with everything Harry said right up until he said rotational minutes, and I think we saw this a wee bit when David Gray emptied the bench at the weekend. I think there are certain games where Dylan Levitt is a really good sub. Like I thought he was a really good sub against St Johnstone in terms of the context of that game and what you bring him on to do. But I think the majority of games in this league, Dylan Levitt is not a good sub to bring off the bench. And depending on the circumstance of the game, Dylan Levitt's not the centre midfielder you bring on when you're 2-0 up with half an hour to go. He just isn't.
Aye.
But Dylan Levitt is not the sub that you bring on when it's one each and, you're maybe playing, I don't know, the Old Firm at home and you're just looking to just sort of get someone on to maybe see out the last sort of 10, 15 minutes of the game with grit and determination. He's a player who has a very, very like broad range and skill set, but there are some things in his game that he just absolutely cannot do. And the reason why he was a good pick for us at the weekend is he's the closest thing we've got to Joe Newell that isn't Joe Newell. But guys like Mariah Welsh and Quan in this league, probably Quan to a lesser extent, in all honesty, because I don't think there's an awful lot there, but certainly Mariah Welsh, what he lacks in Dylan Levitt's footballing ability, you get back for in other things. Quite often they're intangibles as well. It's like how many second balls do you recover, how many second balls do you pick up, stuff like that. That only really shows up on those really nerdy stat sheets, but doesn't really show up in the game. I just think that was a really good game for him. He did really well for an hour, but then ultimately kind of came off a cramp because he has played such little football. So it's a conundrum. What do you do with a player like that who probably deserves to play more than he's playing, but you have to pick the right scenario for him to play?
Do you not think there's a scenario for him to come on as a sub when maybe it's a wee bit chaotic in the midfield and we're looking for somebody to get the ball down and pass it and try and maybe calm others down around him?
Potentially, but has he demonstrated? He was on the pitch a lot at the time when we were 2-0 up last season. We drew 2-2. I don't know. I didn't. I don't know. There probably is, right. There probably is. I just think that the number of instances in which you would bring him on versus a Mariah Welsh are far smaller.
Yeah, maybe he's the things that he lacks probably so much in physicality and winning the second balls and winning tackles and stuff maybe makes him less of an option to come off the bench in a game that's chaotic, where especially in the midfield where he's going to have people on his back all the time. So I just think maybe I really, really, really like Dylan Levitt, but sometimes maybe Scottish football was not cut out for him. Which maybe doesn't suit his game the best.
I mean, you just, I mean, some of the things he did, just without wanting to talk too much, but some of the things he did yesterday and Saturday in possession, where he just had the composure just to take it into feet and just spend that extra half a second on the ball, see off a couple of defenders with nothing fancy, but just really good footballing abilities. He is such a good player, and to be honest, we've not seen enough of him lately. So it was nice. It was a nice reminder of how good a player he is, actually. Because when I sort of shouted Harry down a few weeks ago about playing him, sorry Harry, I think he just reminded us of the qualities that he's got. It's a pity. I don't see it working out at Hibs though.
No, I think so. It is a really interesting talking point. It's one that over the course of his time at Hibs that we've probably had a lot, as have other supporters, and I'd imagine the sort of the head coaches in his time will have as well. For me, he's always like that player you want to come in and some people set the tone with a tackle. Dylan Levitt will set the tone and say, right, we're controlling the tempo, we're controlling the ball. But I do agree that there is probably he's a home comforts player, maybe shall we say? If I don't know that I'm that happy if we're away and up against it and sitting in and stuff that he does that job. However, he's not alone in the sort of midfield options that we have there. Let's
Just
move
one
off.
final thing on one final thing on Levitt for me is I think the main thing that he lacks is tenacity. I just don't think he's the type of player that and for me personally, I think the strength of Joe Newell's game is when he actually turns it on. You expect him to pick the ball and drive at people, but Levitt's just not that player. And although he can play some really nice and strong passes, I think the reason that he doesn't fit into every game is because he's not kind of got that. If Levitt has a good game, he consistently picks passes and moves the ball and keeps the game flowing. Whereas for Joe Newell to have a good game, for me, he could have 2 or 3 moments in which you can point to and be like, that was excellent. Whereas you'll maybe try 1 or 2 killer passes, but you're not going to have one moment where he absolutely goes through someone, say.
All right. Well, let's turn ourselves to those that have got nothing better to do with their Monday night than watch us live 7:30 on YouTube every week, by the way, just in case you're listening to this back or watching it back. Lewis Connor, good evening to you too. GXM top six in Europe, here we come. Chris Black, top six, well deserved. But it's catching on, Harry. He just wants someone to say Dundee United are going to finish third just to see you have a meltdown. Um, Chris also says loves the optimism. Who's to say our form tails off? You tell him. You tell him. You tell Craig, Chris. Anyhow, aye, sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought there. Literally, the words were literally coming out of my mouth and it just stopped. Yeah, keep the YouTube comments coming in, but let's move off of individual performances and talk about the first half. Hibs obviously scored the 2 goals in the 3 minutes, and what otherwise was probably a comfortable but fairly is passive the right word? Do you know, we probably we didn't create too much outside that, so, or at least up to the point of the goal. But we really turned a switch there with the first goal. Craig, what did you make of it?
I thought it was a slow start, to be honest. I thought the first 20, 25 minutes was. I was just, I'll be kind to us and say the game just didn't settle. But I just thought we were a bit uninspiring in the first 25 minutes, to be fair. I think that maybe there's a lot of minutes and a lot of the legs that are out in the park, and especially for the Motherwell players as well. I know there was talks. I think it was Josh Campbell's interview said that we talked about coming out fast, and they were just kind of trying to kill the game after their midweek one, which, to be fair, it probably looked like that. But the spell, as soon as we got that goal, every time we touched the ball for a sort of 5 minute period after the first goal, I just thought every time we were going to score, we looked right up for it. And to be fair, I think on another day we could have scored another couple. And
Yeah.
after that first goal, it was good, but before that, not the best.
Liam, obviously the first goal comes from Jordan Obita putting the ball in, who came onto the pitch on the back of Nicky Cannon taking a dull one. I think it's a foul, but it was a sore one and obviously has a broken nose. But were you actually concerned when he went off? And because
I
Obita's
was,
totally
I,
different.
I was, I was. There's no player who has, as much as, there's been a real team effort. There's no player who has typified the response that we've seen from this football club in the last 7 weeks the way Nicky Cadden has. He's been uh, almost unquantifiable in terms of his importance to the team, not just in terms of goals and assists, but his impact, his demeanour on the pitch. He has probably, in the short space of time he's been here, probably elevated himself to being one of the leaders of the club. Certainly from an on-pitch perspective, when you look at it, he seems to be the one quite often who is responding to his teammates, responding to supporters. He's an absolutely pivotal player. And look, Jordan Obita, it's one of those positions where actually we're really lucky to have a guy as good as Obita to come on from. Like, it's one of the few
Yeah.
positions in the bench you look at, well, that's actually not bad. It's not a massive drop off in terms of quality, but Obita probably doesn't have some of the, I'm going to say intangibles again. He doesn't have those that sort of other factors that Nicky Cadden has. As good a player as he is, but you saw the quality he can bring, and the two things they've both got in common is they've both got an excellent left foot, like and their ability to cross the ball from deep, cross the ball from in line with the sort of penalty spot kind of area is really really good. They've got that in common, but for me, I think Nicky Cadden probably just edges it in terms of the kind of the overall package.
Yeah. I think the one thing that gave me a little bit, because look, I think we'd be lying if we said that it wasn't a concern, is Nicky Cadden's biggest strength is his delivery. And whilst Jordan Obita isn't, or maybe not his biggest strength, but certainly for the way we played anyway, in terms of the threat we carry, Obita, whilst he doesn't have that same level of consistent quality, I think we've seen on a number of occasions, Harry, that he does have the ability to put these sort of balls in. I think it was, maybe wrong, I think it was his cross that sort of led to Dwight Gale's goal at Dundee United. And obviously, it's a shot come cross that leads to the opening goal, and Martin Boyle does well to get in at the back post.
I know, because it was a bit of the put in. It was an excellent ball in. I think a bit on the whole for Hibs has been brilliant, bar the start of the season. I think he's a really good player, who rightfully needed time out of the team because it wasn't like it was just ridiculous mistakes he kept making again and again. So it's yeah, I was really impressed with him. I thought he had a really good game overall. So yeah, no, I'm definitely happy with with what he done after he came on. Hopefully, Cadden. It looked like it was probably a broken nose. I don't know if you saw it on his Instagram story, but his
Oh,
nose was
I'd
about
say so.
Definitely.
8 yards
It's
off.
definitely.
But hopefully, masked Cadden, new character unlocked. Hopefully, he keeps doing the business for us.
exactly when, like in pro clubs, that you've not unlocked anything yet, and that's like the first thing you get, so you're just throwing all the additional things on. But
Wait, so
obviously,
I
sorry,
can't.
just had a thought. When you were younger, did you ever play the Tony Hawk game?
yeah,
Class.
When
World
you like
class.
design your character, it would like put him on like a spinning podium, and then you could like change the character from different things. I think we should do that with Josh Campbell, and it can be like Target Man Josh Campbell, Super Sub Josh Campbell, Iceman Josh Campbell. That was just a thought I had earlier today. I wanted to get off my chest. Sorry, Ian.
Hibs media team will be on the blow to you, mate. That's it. In keeping with the video game stuff.
I can't really describe why, but Nicky Cadden is just a sort of player that should wear a face mask. Like you can just, I don't really know. There's
have you
certain
just
players
called
who
him
really say,
ugly?
do you know? No, 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 not at all, mate. They're both gorgeous, both the twins. But I think when Callum McGregor was wearing one for a brief period, not a face mask kind of player, but Nicky Cadden's, there's just something about his energy that's very face mask. I don't know why.
I could see him
That
in a
I did.
cast. Like I could see him in like one of his arms having a cast on it. I
I,
don't know.
I'd imagine. I don't know about Chris. I think Chris is maybe just a bit too nice. I'd imagine Nicky Cadden's quite a handy cunt.
No, he
I
likes
think he
it.
could fight.
Seems quite
I think
hard.
he could fight. Like I reckon when he was at school, he was like maybe no the hardest in his year, but maybe one of the top five hardest boys in the year.
We should find out. I mean, we burnt Chris Cadden's lugs for long enough at Play of
Did,
the Year a couple of years ago, so maybe we should do it this year with
did they?
Nicky Cadden.
Am I making this up, or did they go to the same school as Kieran Tierney in the same year as
They
Kieran Tierney?
did, and I think they were a couple years older than him, and I fell into this hole because I was watching something, and they were listening to something, and they were talking about Tierney going to Celtic and Rodgers. He's like whinging about the Celtic fans singing his name, and what ended up in a Wikipedia hole, and I looking at like the fucking whatever school they went to, notable
Uh,
class past fucking people that have been to the
On,
school and that.
honestly, mate, my tendency to get into a Wikipedia hole and then wonder what I've done with the last 2.5 hours is really bad now. Like finding
It,
myself
ten,
spiraling all the time.
it does lend itself for good podcasting, knowing your ability to
Aye,
just generally chat shite about a
like
magnitude of different stuff that we're not
for,
qualified to.
for example, I've known for a long time that Jack Iredale was Australian, and you have not. So you've obviously not been in as many Wikipedia holes as I have.
Hands up, hands up. I learned he was born in Scotland, uh, grew up in Australia, played for Green at I pretty much all I knew was he was at Bolton last year. And do you know what I'm blaming that on?
Poor.
Hibs, he didn't get any. He just got announced at half fucking 1 in the morning on transfer deadline day, and it was just like, oh, he was signed as blind. By the way, he's injured.
No,
Like,
no,
no,
no
my fault.
bad. No, no bad for a 1:30 in the morning deadline day signing, by the way.
Again,
Can I
absolutely.
just very quickly, just I was on Iredale, I was listening to Sports Scene. Did you hear how the commentator on Sports Scene pronounced his name? Kind of like
No,
to pick up people pronunciations.
No.
our
I,
deal.
Iredale.
Oh.
Iredale.
That's worse than Inverness. Um, look, obviously, Harry, I tried to transition this lovely 5 minutes ago, and you just decided to ignore it. Martin Boyle scored the first goal. Um,
Oh, but you said he'll beat us. You said he'll beat up the cross in.
Nah, I didn't
no,
get that either.
really,
Oh, okay, sorry.
no, look, he obviously scores in the first half, scores in the second half, a double in back-to-back games, continues his fine form, and this actually equals his second best goal scoring campaign for Hibs in the league already. Just how impressed have you been with this sort of transition to a striker really from a winger?
Yeah, no, I think it lets him do what he wants. Like he's got the freedom where he can still go down the wing and be a nuisance, but he's surprisingly really good at getting on the ends of crosses and stuff, to be honest. So yeah, no, I think he's been a massive asset, and he's been a massive part since Aberdeen of the turnaround. I think going into that Aberdeen game when we saw his name on the team sheet, I think most of the fan base were probably like, "Why is he getting a start? He's been terrible this season," and obviously he's just continuing to prove us wrong. If we can stop him from going back to Australia, then we'll be doing something very good. Second time with the same guy, guys. You can't beat it. But yeah, no. I was really impressed by him. I just think it's nice to have a player in a vein and like a good vein of goal scoring in it. Like it feels like
Yeah.
it's been a while since we've had someone like consistently pinging in goals.
And of course, Hibs have two players consistently scoring just now. With Nectar is getting his second goal in 3 home games. I've got to say that that I don't know what it would be, 10 seconds probably from him getting the ball at halfway to him flinging his arms about in front of the main stand is. Now I know we've won at Tynecastle and stuff. That is genuinely one of like happiest I can remember feeling like watching Hibs play for a long time. And I know we've been good now for 6 to 8 weeks or however long it's been sort of since through December, but see just when you go fucking like 2 goals in 3 minutes, what a finish! Like the whole thing. I was just, I've gone full. I was just so happy. Like it was just like such a release of good emotion. But take it, that is genuinely outstanding from Nectar chant, isn't it?
It's beautiful. Similar to the Aberdeen away one, where you could see his mind going before the ball was even played by the keeper. He was reading what was going to happen, and obviously the boy lets it run through him. It's pretty poor from him, if we're being honest. But Giannis picks up and does the work. I was a wee bit concerned when he got to the edge of the box that he was going to try and cut it back. I'm hanging over the row in front of me, just screaming, "Shoot, shoot, shoot!" And it's what a finish, by the way. What a finish! That was a striker's finish. Hard bottom corner, no messing about, no hitting the keeper or anything, just in off the post. Beautiful. And his celebration, that is class. That is class. He didn't know what to do. The arms he just lost control of his body. It was brilliant. So no, I'm delighted with him. And to be honest, I think it's something a lot of the more of the players in our team, we should probably be doing that more often, because we've got a lot of big, physical, strong runners. Miller, Triantis, even Campbell probably is in that ilk of the sort of athletic runners. Like, just get the ball and run it, folk. They don't like it. They do not like it. Defenders hate getting run it. So, yep, delighted with that one. And it was, what a noise it was as well when he was running through. Everybody, obviously, there's going to be a chance. So everybody just jumps up and starts screaming. It was great.
Liam, I know you're itching to get in, but just Chris and Leon highlighting just how much they think of Trent is in the comments there, but I just wanted to shout them out.
Yeah, a centre half come centre defensive midfielder has absolutely no right to finish as well as he does there. Like, no right whatsoever. How many times in my life I've seen a striker in that position bearing down on goal where they've dragged that one wide of the far post? You see it all the time in that position, because it's one of the hardest shots for a right footer hit in football, across the goalkeeper and the far post. The technique is brilliant. I heard someone say the goalkeeper should do a bit better. I thought that was a bit harsh. I thought it was a really good finish. Just one wee final thing I want to mention: Andy Haffa game. What is he thinking? Stopping
both goals, by the way, is so bad for both.
stopping there. I mean, you're just
He
not.
thinks the cutback's coming. That's why that's why he stops.
He does, but it's great if it comes up, but it looks awful if he doesn't. And he does. He's made to look a wee bit silly there.
It's sensational, but at least he showed up to open goal this week. I haven't watched open goal from last week, but I've seen a lot of Hibs fans really going in on them, saying, I don't know, they must have been quite critical of us still, I'm assuming. So I might have to tune in this week just to see what he says. I also seen a Hibs fan tweet that patting out the game, obviously, that he hasn't been hooked at halftime. He coincidentally scored the winner against us, but apparently he's now been hooked in 3 of the last 4 games we've played them at halftime, which is
I've seen that.
entirely pleasing, isn't it? I mean, Hibs, Craig, you touched on it. We could have scored a couple more before half-time. And perhaps we see Nectar chant his return to type with his finishing prowess from that corner. 2-3 yards out, then it just about ended up in the top tier.
I think there's maybe a wee bit at the time, and I've watched it back once. In my head, I thought he's maybe just a wee bit conscious of the keeper coming out and clattering him, and I think that's maybe why he doesn't quite commit to it, because I feel like if he just runs onto it a wee bit earlier and properly commits to just putting it in the net, it would go in, or he has a much easier chance of scoring. But by the time you can see him, he just in the back of his mind think I might get clattered here, and leans back on it a wee bit. But we'll forgive him. I don't think you can really bash him too much. And it was a tight angle. It wasn't like a tapping or anything like that. But I definitely think he should have scored, if I'm being really honest.
Well, they have finished with a really good counter attack for opportunity for Hibs as well, that unfortunately sort of wasted with a loose pass from Boyle. But going in at half time, I'm assuming, where were you in Europe this week? Switzerland, France, but were you entirely happy?
If it's mainland Europe, I'm always in Switzerland, mate. That's where I always That's where I always travel to whenever I go to mainland Europe. I have to go back to the scene of the
destination.
Yeah,
London's rubbing off on them, mate.
got a return ticket anytime there's a Hibs game on the TV. Yeah, not like I was gonna say, like there was obviously periods where everything Hibs related I was just dreading. Like I was dreading watching Hibs on the weekend. I was dreading what you call it, going on Twitter and seeing all the negativity. Like there was even sometimes I was dreading like talking about Hibs for an hour on the podcast. Like realistically, if we're getting beat every week, it's just the four of us. It's a
Shite.
struggle to be like, do we actually have to do this? But I look forward to the game at the weekend. I look forward to chatting to you afterwards. All day today, I've genuinely been excited to come on the pod and just talk about how good Hibs are. We've got loads of people in the comments buzzing about it as well. Like, there's just such a nice vibe and such a good feeling. That's why, like, even if we get beat as a fan base, we just need to ensure that we don't lose the shit. Like, if every team in football gets beat at some point eventually, I know I'm bad for throwing the toys at the pram, but like, we've got so
I
much
take it.
momentum and
Is it
so much.
allowed if we draw? Is it allowed to lose your shit if we draw? Just for pure
If
clarity.
if we are 0-0 against the team that's bottom of the league and are totally shit, and we go down to 10 men, then no, a draw is not an acceptable
So what's your
point.
excuse? Because it was 1-1.
What?
I'm
We
sorry.
then went 1-0 down to 10 men. See,
Sorry, I'm being a
you're picking a
pedantic, but
ridiculous. Yeah, you're picking the one bad performance we've had in the last 10 games. But yeah, I just think it's good to be Hibs, and I'm glad that Hibs are back to being enjoyable. That's all I want as a
Nah,
football fan is to
nah, I
enjoy the
can't wait
club.
for a moan. I cannot wait for a moan. Long overdue by now.
look, the second half sort of Lubers will be had a disallowed goal or beat us should probably score. I think he is trying to score. I really hope he's not trying to find Josh Campbell there. But after
Um,
that, through to Motherwell goal, Hibs are sort of in protect mode probably, other than sort of capitalise mode. Which look, it was frustrating, and I think you could feel a little bit of an energy shift in the ground, which sort of probably didn't actually change until Motherwell scored because I thought then the reaction in the ground from the moment they scored was quite positive. Do you know where like you get behind, you kind of feel that quite a lot, but it was a bit of a nothing game really until Motherwell scored from half time. Would you say, Liam, it was that Motherwell were good value for getting back into the game for the couple of minutes that they did, or
No, not especially because I think I think you're right. See, the energy shifted a bit. I mean, they brought on a couple of their better players, and Maswinisi, I think, has probably been their standout player since the things picked up for them earlier on this season. And whilst he didn't directly do lots, I think that did give him a wee bit of lift, just having better players on the park. But I don't really remember Jordan Smith making a whole lot of saves or really any
you should have
them
made
being
one.
in the final third. I mean, he absolutely should save the free kick. I mean, I'm not being flippant when I'd say I would back myself to save that. I just would. I don't think that was good enough at all. But it probably did shift a little bit in terms of they had a little bit more possession because I don't think they had a kick really in the first half. But I wasn't. It's not like I was sitting on the edge of my seat, kind of panicking because they were getting themselves back into the game. I'll be honest. I wasn't impressed with them at all, and I haven't been impressed with them in any of the three games we've played them this season. I thought they were very fortunate in the 2-1 game and East Road early in the season hinged on really, the sending off. So I put probably quite a poor side, to be honest.
yeah, a poor side that are somehow sitting above us in the league,
Aye.
which probably just emphasises how poor we were at the start of the season. Harry, I'm always curious that obviously you don't necessarily have the same sort of viewing and the same experience in terms of how did you feel the game was going in the second half? Obviously not being in the stadium.
I think it's the thing with Gray. He seems very comfortable to kind of take the foot off the gas. It's kind of the impression I get because it's a few times where we've been ahead. Like you've seen it more at the start of the season where we kept throwing away leads. But I just think we came out in the second half and it was very let's coast through this and let's try and hold out for a 2-0 win. I just don't think we were like I don't know, like the word tenacity again. Like I just don't think we were tenacious enough on the ball. I think, personally, I think when Levitt went off, I think we were a lot more wasteful on the ball. I don't think we kept possession anywhere near as much as we did when he was on the pitch. And again, it's clumsy mistakes. I think if Rocky does what Iredale does to give away that free kick, I think he's getting absolutely hounded. I think it's a bit brain dead. He has so much time to actually deal with it, second guesses himself, and then gives away a free kick. And then I'm not going to talk about the positioning for uh, Smith because yeah, But yeah, they were in the ascendancy. But the good thing is, with the resilience now, at the start of the season, you probably see a collapse, but we're unbeaten for a reason. And I just think we managed to get ourselves back on top of the game. And I think as soon as they scored, I didn't feel worried that we were going to concede again. Whereas at the start of the season, as soon as we conceded one goal, I was just like, when's the next one coming? So yeah.
There's probably we don't probably don't need to touch on the penalties too much, Craig, but it's a Stonewall penalty that Martin Boyle duly converts. Some people in this chat in this Zoom call seem to think it was a lucky penalty. I'm not quite sure what that's all about.
Well, I seen somebody saying that, and I completely lost it, and I didn't understand what that was about, to be honest. But no, it's a good
I think
penalty.
we should.
Just
I
smashed
think we
it in
should
the middle.
I think we should leave the listeners to figure out if it was Liam or Harry that
No,
claimed it
right,
was a
right,
lucky
sorry.
finish.
Well,
It wasn't the rational one. Let's put it that way.
I was just gonna, to be honest, I'm with the listeners on that one. I'm just gonna have to sit and try and figure that one out as well. No, it was a good penalty. Just hit it down the middle. We were actually talking just after that conversation, and quite a lot of time down the middle and high is probably one of the best options, to be honest. If you just smash it down the middle, it's got to be power on it. So if the keeper gets his trailing leg on it, it kind of goes through that.
Yeah.
It's exactly what he's done with his last two penalties. And Martin Boyd's got a wee bit of a thing with that going down the middle. I'm sure, did he not take that against Rangers in the semi-final game at Hampden as well?
Yeah,
I'm sure his
and
penalty
they
was
used
very,
to
very
do it
similar to
before.
that.
Mate,
I think
his
he.
penalty was in the game, the semi-final against Dundee United. Was it his no one of the ones that absolutely about took the net
I
off?
then I think he said on like the
He was
DVD
aiming
thing
bottom right,
after
it went top right.
it. You
So
mentioned
just one more thing on penalties. Sorry, fair play, Jorge Grant. That was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought that was great.
That was very, very good.
I didn't enjoy it as
By the
much as
way,
that clip earlier on. It's one of the best things I've ever watched in my life.
by the way,
So
I
good.
actually didn't think his penalty was that bad. I just thought that was actually a really good save. I know people are
Mm.
saying the height is good for the goalie, but he struck it. He struck it quite well.
it's
And
a good
if the goalie
save.
goes all the
It's
way,
a
it's in
good
the side
save.
netting. So
It's a good
get
save.
it up him first of all, like get it right off him. But that did
Do you know
make my
what's
evening a lot better.
obviously I was on a slight delay for reasons. So see, knowing he'd missed and still watching him just about to run up to hit, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great." You know, like I was like, it took
Enjoy
all
the
the
moment twice.
yeah, it took all the panic out of it, and
Uh,
like any tension. I just went, "Ooh, how does he miss? Like, what did he
uh,
do?" Like, you know,
can I actually just to get back to Hibs matters, I just wanted to touch on something that I actually felt helped us. Just in that wee bit where Motherwell were kind of having their spell in the game, just before the penalty, just before they scored the free kick. I felt like our legs in midfield had started to go a wee bit. A wee bit. No, I don't think they were dominating us or anything, but and then obviously score free kick, and at this point, I was really concerned. I was like, this has got Hibs written all over it. This dominate a game for as long as that, and then concede a really poor goal, to be honest with you. And then the shiters go right up us, and we start to look uncomfortable. But Nathan Murray-Welsh comes on. I actually thought he was very good. Just more like just busy getting in about faces, and I thought he kind of won us a wee bit of the control back in the midfield that I felt that we were going to get a wee bit overrun
Mhm.
when they had the momentum after the goal. But I felt he done a good job of sort of controlling that a wee bit better.
Probably that probably exactly ties in with the discussion point that you and Liam were having earlier about Levitt and Mariah Welsh. How Mariah Welsh probably doesn't give you what Levitt does for the first 60 minutes, but then Levitt probably doesn't give you what Mariah Welsh does for that last 10 or so that he was on the pitch. It's January. Liam told us there's 20 days left of the window, or circa 20 days, is it? Where the fuck are the Hibs signings? I'll be totally honest. Where are our new players? You know that I get impatient in January. January 3rd. What are we on the day? 15th? Is that right? 13th, sorry. 13th of January. I assume we are all in agreement that we expected bodies in by this point.
I love Clockwork. Just a wee insight into our group chat. I love on 5th or 6th of January, Ewan says, I'm absolutely comfy that we've not signed anyone. I'm comfy. You always use the word comfy as well. Comfy that we've not signed anyone. 2 days later, oh, I'm starting to get really agitated. We've not signed anyone. Like, I can't believe we've not signed anyone.
I
Every
never,
single day since, there's just, I don't know what is the turn up. Is it the end of the first week that you just said that you've had a week? Like,
Right. So
I've used up all my patience, and then you get really, and then you mention it every day until we sign someone. Then we sign someone, and then there's a week gap until we sign someone else. Can't believe we've not got a second player in yet. You can't just be signing one player this January. You can't be signing one player every January. The same
I
thing.
never announced my comfort level this year, I don't think. But the turning point is right. I usually try to give them to my birthday. Like that's like
Right.
a point, like the 8th of January. I'm like, right, if it gets to there and we've not signed someone. And I think, well, if I'm being totally honest, this year, especially, it's been obvious we need players since
Aye.
about the day after the summer transfer window closed. And I just thought we would have done business by now. And I appreciate that perhaps the targets that we maybe thought we might have needed 6 to 8 weeks ago in
Mm.
terms of just getting in fucking anyone that isn't the players we've got currently to halt the run of form may well have changed now. But even just in the second half there, I think we've seen tiredness in the squad, and I just think we definitely need players in.
Including the listeners, does anyone want to guess when our first signing, what date our first signing of the last January transfer window was made?
It was quite late, wasn't it? Because we're
21st.
It was my leader.
Mm, it was my leader.
I'll say
a lock in 17, Jeff.
I'll say the day 13th.
Harry was closest. It was the 18th of January.
I know it was
Yeah.
my leader because I remember us discussing. I think we were in agreement, Liam, that seems on paper a very good player, but wasn't what we needed at the time in terms of what we needed for the team, which obviously proved, not as the first signing. I think that's what I said on here maybe when I was like, I want him to be our fourth signing in the window. It's like, oh, here, look what we've got instead of here's another fucking winger for you to have while we can't stop conceding goals. Which, I mean, maybe did still come back to bite us in the ass. But there has been a centre back linked to Hibs in the last couple of days. Anyone done any investigation? Because I have not.
I've done a wee bit. I mean, he was part of the Wikipedia hole that was down the other day. Don't profess to be an expert, but it sounds like he wasn't really playing under Wayne Rooney at Plymouth Argyle. They've obviously sacked Wayne Rooney. They had a caretaker in charge. He played 90 minutes in the FA Cup at the weekend. Kind of seems unlikely on that basis. New manager coming in, who's previously the Cercle Bruges manager. So we'd imagine he'll want to make an assessment on his squad before letting anyone go. But certainly seems like quite an interesting signing based on his profile. Looks like he can play right back and centre back. So you'd probably guess maybe in the right of the three in the current system that we're playing just now. Came through at Arsenal and has sort of dundered about a few different clubs before spending the last couple of years at Plymouth. So I don't know. I've got to be honest. It does seem a bit of an unlikely one.
Well,
Is
there's
it?
been one report like saying we're interested in him, and then one report rubbishing that sort of link. So I don't know really what one you believe.
Two equally bad sources, I would say. Alan Nixon's almost never right, and Not the Old Firm is always almost never right as well. So, he's. I don't know where you compare the two sources, but they're not great. But the Hibs Observer did pick it up and remember that they didn't directly quote anything, but they did say reports suggest. So I don't know. I don't know.
I'm in your boat. I'd be surprised if we're going to get a centre half that played 90 minutes away to a Premier League side and they get a clean sheet and a win.
And then he's shipped out.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
What do you make of that sort of profile though, Harry? In terms of that set, like as centre back, top of the list of priorities. Is that if you were to pinpoint a signing to make first?
I just think that's a really funny way to put them in the shop window. We're going to play against Premier League Brentford away because
Never lose at home.
we want to impress. We want to impress. What you call it, Hibernian Football Club in the bottom half of Scotland at the time. The thing is, for me, if they're good enough, I think we should always sign. Like I don't think there's a problem with having an abundance. Like I'd rather David Gray had difficult decisions to make for having too many good players and not enough good players. The thing I always say though, I just don't understand how like you've got so many months leading up to a transfer window. I don't get why it takes so long because the something we said at the start of the window that I still think is true is this Clyde Bank game's the perfect time to bed someone in. Like it's the perfect time to get minutes at them, like get them like a big clap from the crowd before they like actually have to go and play a like top flight
Aye.
opponent. Again, not meaning to disrespect Clyde Bank, but they are 5 leagues below us. So that's the only
What
issue I
you're saying is
have.
it's the Ryan Gall v Elgin game.
Yeah, exactly. And he was an absolute baller and I loved him. Speaking of which, I'd take him if he's available. Um, yeah, no, I don't think centre back's top of the priority, especially with Epiteta coming back. But the centre mid and striker for me, I would still very much like.
There was an article out today, or sorry, a question and answer, I think, in the Evening News today. Now, I don't necessarily think the Evening News are maybe as on the pulse at HTC as they were maybe prior to the Hibs Observer, as maybe just my observation. Um, I can't remember the journalist that was doing the question and answer, but reading it back suggested this, the vibe to me felt that Hibs are looking more for that Maulida profile, and not necessarily position wise, but maybe statement. I think there was a quote on it that said, "Looking for players that Hibs otherwise or should seem that are out of our reach." And I totally understand that we are on a very good run of form, but there's still holes in this squad that need filled and need filled. I appreciate January is not easy, but do need more long term solutions as well, and just doesn't need to be this sort of quote unquote superstar to come in. I don't know what do you make of that?
Should that not be our Bournemouth connection coming into play there then? If we're looking for somebody that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get, and obviously that was basically Marcondes last season, and I think Malida is one of these ones that pops up every now and then that you can pick up, but certainly if Bill Foley's going to help us out, that's probably where I'd be looking for that superstar that we can't afford ordinarily to come from.
Mm.
But yeah, out with that, I'm with Harry. Let's just get players that are good enough to come in and start. Which obviously that Plig as well. He seemed like he would be a guy that would be ready to come in and start games right away. Just to touch on Harry's point, obviously he's angry about us that taking so long to get things going in January, and I agree that things should be ready to go, but it's obviously not that simple because I think it's the same. Probably if you were to listen to most fan podcasts, they would be all frustrated that their club don't get done deals done early enough, both in the summer and in January. I just think maybe, especially particularly in January, it takes time for moves to happen because it's like a domino effect. One person needs to move, then one club's got a position they need filled, and then they go out into the market. So I think it just takes time with these
Mm.
things, and a lot of the time it ends up being such a dash on the last transfer day because everybody's been waiting and waiting and waiting to see if anything's going to happen, and then one thing happens and it just sets everything else off.
It certainly has felt like a quieter start to the window this year. I think Kilmarnock just saying Calvin Ramsey, didn't they? Hearts have brought a couple of boys in. I don't know that many. Obviously, Harry said Aberdeen have brought in 3 or 4, but I think they are certainly shopping in a different market from us just now in terms of the funds that they've got available, probably from their summer business in terms of moving Miovski on. We've probably neglected Twitter a wee bit recently in terms of our comments and stuff. We had a couple questions come in around transfers from there. So, Bully Dogfather, why do we shop in the lower leagues? Other teams are taking on Premier League loanees. I presume he's referencing Calvin Ramsey there. Let's hope our computer's better than theirs. I don't love loan players from anywhere. I especially don't love them from Premier League sides that, unless there's that sort of almost prior connection with Hibs or the Scottish League. Do you know, like I don't feel like it's something that works massively. Do you have any sort of different takes on that, or?
I think we've got we've still got a massively over congested squad. Like I don't think there's much value in bringing loan players, and I hope that if we do move for players at the moment, that we try and sign them permanently. Like we still need to get so many bodies out come the summer. So for me, I don't want loans at all, unless it's like a loan with an option to buy. Like I wouldn't mind that.
Mhm.
But yeah, we've still how many loans? Is it
I
four or
was just
five
going to
we've
ask
got at the
that
moment?
question. How many have we got and how many have we allowed? Because I can't think we'd be allowed too
I
many
think the
more.
rules are pretty loose. I think you can have quite a lot in your squad as long as they're not
I
in the
thought it was
game
only
day
like
squad
4
all
or
at once.
5.
No, yeah, I think you can do it. If I'm being honest, I think you can have as many loans as
Aye.
you want. I think there's a limit in terms of how many you can loan from a team,
Yeah, from one
and
specific
also
club.
maybe potentially even in the same league. Maybe I might have made that up, but there's definitely a limit from a team. I think that's a good point, though, Harry. With
It was
again,
increased
I'll
to
go
6 during COVID is the right answer.
from one team or
It's
max.
6 at any one time,
Right.
max, I
So
think.
we must be
We were
four.
4.
4.
Right?
Yeah. No,
Is
3. Kukurevich, Triantis, Kwon, Bursic, sorry, 4. I forget about Bursic.
so. Given the
Oops.
point that Harry just mentioned there with the loans, though, Liam, and the volume of players that we've got out of contract in the summer, and just FYI, Brian McLaughlin, Josh Campbell isn't one of them. Um, loans can he be the way forward in this window? Surely, like, does that not just add to the turmoil that's going to come in the summer? Liam, sorry, I did stay in
No, I don't know. I mean, Kev Wilson asked us a really good question weeks ago on Twitter. What is Garvin Stewart's first priority in the window? Is it about recruiting for here and now between the end of the window, the end of the season, or is it about planning for the future? And in all honesty, I think it's a bit of both. I do think we do potentially, if there's a way to bring in players like I mentioned earlier, CJ Egan Riley type player that comes in and has an impact. You go and make that deal happen, I think. But if the option is to go and sign a Matthew Hoppy type player, it's a no, on loan
it.
or permanent for that matter. I think what we did on that window was we did a kind of just let's go and sign lots of players and hope that something sticks in that window under Lee Johnson. What I'd hope we do now is just be a wee bit more targeted, go and get 3 or 4 really good quality players in, regardless of whether they're loans or permanents, because that's what we need right here and now. We'll have much more headroom and much more room to manoeuvre in the summer with the 15 players that are going to be out of contract potentially to be able to do probably more meaningful business. I think this window was always going to be a wee bit patchworky. There was going to be some element of loans in there, and it will be some elements of, as we've said every week for the last number of weeks, can you move 2 or 3 on as well to help create that space in the squad, but also help create the headroom in terms of wages?
Yeah, Craig, well, anyone. Dave asked, who would you like as realistic new signings in January? Obviously, we went through some players a couple of weeks ago. Has there been anyone else, since then, as you're in the window? I'm sure we all spend more time in Wikipedia and transfer market holes in the January transfer window. Has anyone come to light for any news that you would like to see Hibs go after in the next couple of weeks?
We've got a decent pot of money, which it seems like we do just based off the McCowan rumour and stuff. I wouldn't mind trying to get Lyle Cameron whilst there doesn't seem to be too much
In a chat
conversation.
that he was going to
Yeah,
Rangers.
I think he's speaking
Oh,
to
really?
Rangers.
Like, Celtic and Rangers don't need these players to lay. It just fucking pisses me off. Like, ugh.
Depends who you ask me. Rangers fans will tell you they need more of that and less of £4 or £5 million duds for middle and Serie A teams or whatever.
So low risk for Rangers as well. Like even if he doesn't turn out well, there's selling value there. He's 22 years old. Yeah, I'd love it to happen, but I think it's as I said when you first mentioned him a couple of weeks ago, I think it's pretty unlikely.
Anyone else, Harry? Sorry, I'm aware we just totally cut over you there.
Well, I was just wanting him. Aye.
No,
Liam?
I've not got any names in particular, but I'd probably agree with Harry that obviously you're at the time of year where contracts are coming up and there's maybe some pretty decent players that you can get for below what their value would otherwise be with a contract or running out maybe. But yeah, I don't really want to see too many, if any, loans coming in unless we know they're going to be a good player. Like no sort of experiments or anything like that. Maybe that's wishful thinking because I suppose ultimately we are Hibs and we do rely on the loan market quite heavily. Like that's just a fact. But I wouldn't be too keen on it.
As much as we got told 11, 12 months ago we wouldn't, and that this investment was game changing, and we wouldn't rely on loan players, and
Nah, it's a load
we'd
of
be
shit,
able to
isn't it?
attract players that we would never be able to attract before, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, I don't.
Did
I
you?
don't. Sorry, you go.
I'm kind of changing topic, but you go.
No, just I don't, and I don't think there's anyone at Bournemouth, as we talked about before, don't really have a particularly well established sort of youth setup that you would be familiar with the younger players there. So I'll be honest, I don't think there's any obvious ones. The name I saw and seen it a couple of times now is Sammy Silvera, that's at Middlesbrough, who's currently on loan at Portsmouth, and I believe is stinking out the gaff at Portsmouth. But I think he would be the sort of player you'd maybe bring in potentially if Yuan was going, on loan to the end of the season, because it's a fairly low risk one. I'm sure we'll be aware of him from when Montgomery was here, because he was at Central Coast before. I think Hearts were linked to him going back a couple of years ago as well, but I can't say that's one that excites me too much. To come back to another Kev Wilson question, what would your thoughts be on signing a striker who is a really good profile for this league, who is very well suited to playing in a two up front formation, plays for a lesser club in this league? I'm not going to mention their name, plays for a lesser club in this league, but is not prolific in front of goal.
I'm going to take a guess that you're talking about a Kilmarnock player, but
No.
bastard. Oh well.
Were you thinking Kyle Vassell? That does
Yeah,
not seem
I
like
was
the type
just
of player that
said
Liam would
it
ever
suits the
suggest
profile
in
of
his
the league.
life.
He's got 6 months
Sorry.
left on his deal.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Silvera's just signed for Blackpool, according to Liam Cameron in the YouTube comments.
That'll be that one.
What a shout, man.
Is it one of the St Johnston boys?
No.
Can we stop? Can we
Kim
stop?
Pioka's a good player, but he's not one. He's a
Oh,
UN
Olasanya.
replacement. To Yossi Olasanya, look, when he play, I know he is a bit of a blunt instrument. I'm not sure he was the kind of player that would exactly get the juices flowing, but as a foil for someone else, I know he's missed at the weekend. I know what you're going to say, but like,
Yeah, I was going to say, did you watch highlights?
as a foil for someone else, do you know who he kind of reminds me of a wee bit? He's got a wee bit of the Simon Murray's about him, like very effective, but not very good in front of goal. I know Simon Murray had that great goal scoring run towards the end of last season, but if you think about the type of player Simon Murray was at Hibs, he was very effective. He just didn't score goals, and that was ultimately why we moved on. I think someone in that mould, maybe not as your sort of marquee January signing, but someone who can come in and rough up defenders and create opportunities for others almost through their play, might be the sort of a signing that we would look to explore. But I can see from the reaction of my fellow
listen, I've not
podcasters.
actually. So I was going to say I've not watched them, but I probably have watched them quite a lot. But I've not like focused on him himself to actually really comment on his all-round play. Just purely based off the name, because I watched the highlights at the weekend. That's what was making my face screw up a wee bit. But I'd need to maybe do a bit more of a deep dive on highlights. Although I suppose highlights didn't really help you. Maybe stats would be better for that one.
I mean, the stats aren't pretty. Just being honest, the stats are not pretty in terms of goals scored. But again, he is just one of those players he's got that sort of nuisance factor, I suppose.
Liam, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love it. I don't love it.
On the Depot Akinyemi scale of really bad shouts, where does it sit?
Probably slightly above that. Like in terms of, however, what I'll say is, I think if you suggested him in the summer, I would be more warm. Like he had a better year last year than what he's having this year, and it would be wrong of me to forget the fact that I just a couple of weeks ago said we should sign St Mirren's third or fourth choice centre midfielder. So, on that assumption, I won't completely say you're an idiot, but it's borderline. Like
Who's that you suggested?
Something that made me laugh earlier today.
Boyd Munce.
What do you call it? Aaron Fraser tweeted, Hearts have agreed a 6-figure fee for a 24-year-old fucking stupid name. Austrian centre-back was identified by Jamestown Analytics. I just think that's really fun. I reckon they've got like a supercomputer and they're like, we need a centre-back, lad. Who are you thinking?
Here's Jamie McCart, who played in League 2 years ago.
Here's on a 4.5-year deal. Can we just,
Did you
honestly,
see the sitter he missed as well, by the way? We didn't even mention that.
Oh, horrendous.
Open goal and he hit the post. Legend.
Oh, but
Um,
I'm
By
trying
the
to
way-
think of.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about Olasanya. Nah.
Hibs are not going to sign Olasanya. All right, perfect. Thought about that one. Cheers.
Can I just touch on a name actually that I discovered at the weekend who I thought was very, very decent. Obviously, absolutely no basis behind any other games or anything like that. But the boy Kai Andrews for Motherwell, number 54, I thought he was superb, and he's very young. On loan for Coventry, I think. I don't know what his situation is there, but just there's a name for you. I noticed him at the
Craig, I
weekend.
stopped listening because I just seen
Thanks for that. I
Graham's in the
noticed that.
chat saying he'd rather have a veggie lasagna.
Veggie lasagnas are decent, to be fair. I don't mind a veggie lasagna. Depends on the
Mate,
veg, obviously, but
sorry, Craig, who did you say? Genuinely, I'm just totally
Kai
unaware of them.
Andrews, number 54 for Motherwell at the weekend.
They just
Centre
sent him,
mid.
Yeah.
I got him on loan. I thought he looked really, really good, to be honest. I thought he was probably a standout for Motherwell.
An interesting one from the aforementioned Kevin Wilson in the chat. Bobby Welsh from Kelly. He says he's looked decent. 6 months left on his deal. I actually would agree. I thought he was quite decent. I thought he was good at Easter Road and has scored a couple goals. Maybe that is there's definitely sell-on value there. But does that, what do you call it? Development
when you
fees.
say he scored a couple of goals, he scored one goal this season, so less prolific than
Definitely
Lasagna.
He
definitely
needs a
scored more
sandwich
than
as
one.
well.
He's
He's definitely scored more than one.
in the league,
Definitely
he's got one goal, one assist. So he's not quite all Lasagna levels of prolific. But there you
I'd
go.
let him
Was he
develop a
about
wee bit
6 years?
physically first.
6 years he's junior or something.
You know what
I
I
thought we were
reckon
talking
would
about
be
players
good,
coming
guys?
back now.
I reckon a technician who's probably been player of the year for his club that I reckon would revitalise our midfield. Welcome to Hibs, Dylan Tate.
Well, we're at it, bring Sean Mackey back and ought to play left back.
Genuinely, the Dylan Tate redemption arc is quite something. Genuinely, if he doesn't, and I think they probably all get promoted, but if Falkirk will get promoted, he's signing for someone in the top flight this season, next season. He's been that good. Like every game you watch, he's.
Good football.
All I'm going to say is, me and G went to watch them against Newton Grange Star, and he was absolutely cooking. And as we said then, get him in the first team. And someone rubbished us because it was against Newton Grange Star. I'm pointing at that person who rubbished us. That's all I'm going to say. Aye, of course it was you. You poo-pooed us.
I'm just having I just had a quick scan there of Dylan Tate's sort of stat profile there on FootMob, which is what I use to sort of pinpoint thinking that Luke McCown was someone we could look at coming out of the Championship. Remarkably similar. So, if we're being honest, I know it's stupid, but if he hadn't just left Hibs, there is a good chance we'd be sitting here actually saying 23 years old, he is a player that we could look at. So, absolutely mental shout, Harry, but that is like the profile of player, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And just to touch back on that comment earlier,
Only we
about...
could pay a transfer fee for a player twice and only play him once.
You have to pay yourself a sell-on fee.
Oh, Liam, I have to say, Olasanya's he's not went down well in the YouTube comments.
No, I knew it wouldn't, to be honest. I was throwing it out there.
What about Kyle Vassell? I wouldn't mind just a big bastard. Just go up there
he's
and have
worse.
fun, mate.
He's 10
Just
times
go out there
worse.
and enjoy yourself.
At least
I'd rather him than Lasagna.
Nah, all Lasagna can run. The cell can't. I'm sorry, that's a terrible shout.
I wasn't saying it seriously. Goodness me.
I hope.
When you were shouting, when you were describing the player, I actually thought you were going to present a player more in that mould. To be fair, I thought you were almost like in the Christian Doidges of the world. That's almost what I was thinking more than.
I don't think Hibs should be signing any player whose nickname is preceded by the word big. Derek McInnes always calls him Big Vass. I'm not want to sign anyone called Big.
We've not got enough elbows in our team at the moment. I want some elbows, some body checks, some like Daz McGregor on Don Cowie style booms.
You think Jordan Smith's played for some peculiar clubs in your lifetime? If you ever want a good laugh, go and look at Kyle Vassell's Wikipedia page. Oh my God.
Well, look, boys, we're getting a bit hysterical here. So, Dave...
We just have one more hysterical thing. Ken, what would be really funny if they were at your club? Mind the absolute size of that Zefuk that played for Hearts. He was just he was massive in every facet. I wouldn't mind that. Like, the ball bounced off him, but so did everybody else. I thought that was fun.
I can Fenwell light.
Aye.
Looks like me if I signed for fucking Hibs, man, honestly. Right. Did someone just say true there? I swear I just
No, sorry, I was just looking. Forgot I was on the mic there and I was speaking to myself. I was just looking at Chris Black's comment in the chat about some guy for Sunderland. It seems like a decent, legitimate shout anyway.
I don't know what his contract situation is because the shout only occurred to me really at the weekend when he came on. But I do think Mas when you say at Motherwell, if you're looking for a low budget LUN replacement, if he was to go, I think could potentially be someone we might look at. He's done well in the league. You have to look at him. I mean, just looking at his numbers, I don't think he's as anywhere near as an accomplished a footballer as Yuan, but I would like to see us maybe look at the league and not turn our nose up at players that have been effective at other clubs. And he's still quite young. I think he's only 21, 22 years old, something like that. So I think he's someone we could look at.
Yeah. And well, I'm just going to sum up our last few comments there on YouTube. So the excuse me, sorry, Chris Back that Craig mentioned there he would say it's a Trey August Sonyu? No, that's
I've just had a quick
the
Google search of him.
and then we've got JXM saying Kieran Bowie's all the elbows we need. Remy Cool Rocky's the big bastard we need up front. And Sam Crow, is it worth getting Fraser Murray back? He's playing well for Kelly. Look, I do forgive me for not mentioning it earlier, but someone did say in the YouTube comments earlier on how would the roof have went off Easter Road if Boyle had
Mate.
managed to slip Rocky in and made it 4-1.
He's ballooning that into the singing section, like.
Mate, I don't think so. You see the run that he's on and how well he played. Like Rocky we never touched on. Rocky was fucking brilliant at the weekend.
Good,
so good at the
so
weekend. The way he was playing on Saturday, I genuinely see him taking a touch, going round the goalkeeper, like rounding the goalie, sitting him down, and just do that really nonchalant thing where they just like roll their foot over the ball and put it into the net like that. Honestly, I would have been fucking class.
No, I just see. No, I just have visions of that getting punted right into the top section.
I know it's like 2 minutes before
That's the
it.
reason the referee sent him off. He was just gutted he didn't get to see what Rocky was going to do next.
Yeah, the like 2 minutes before it, I think we'd had a corner and we took it short and then we had a throw and we were in a total different place, but he's still standing in the fucking box. And then the ball went out again, and you can see more in the horror. David Gray just fucking screaming at him to get fucking back, and then behind the ball. And then 2 minutes later, he's
class.
honestly,
I love him.
I love it. It's great.
Hero.
Anyhow, Clydebank at the weekend. That's there was a wee mention of Kieran Bowie there. Obviously for maybe coming back in. That would be enough to get my juices flowing going into this cup tie. If is it one that would maybe be more likely off the bench? Do you think, Liam, or would you like to see him in from the start?
I think David Gray, I think, is probably kind of signalled in his press conference last week that him and Kuharovic will play some part this weekend. I think likely off the bench. I think we'll go with a fairly strong team. There might be one or two changes, like Rudy might come in to the midfield for Campbell, for example. Might get some rest into the players who've played a lot of minutes, but I think we'll go with a fairly strong team. As said, Clydebank, I don't think they've had a game for about a month now because of postponements, but they are unbeaten this season. I think priority in the cup is always to go out and try and win the game and make subs if possible if we're far enough ahead. But it's going to be interesting as that they've sold 2,000 tickets, and I don't think we've sold anything like that yet based on a quick look at the seat map when I was buying tickets earlier. So I genuinely think it will be tougher than some of the other opposition that we faced that have been lower league, not lower league, no lower league, sorry, non-league. Like in the past when we played, going back all those years, Irvine Meadow and Bonnyrigg Rose when they were non-league. I think it'll be tricky.
I said it at the time. I just didn't and I stick by it, but I think we'll win the game. Personally, for me, I'll get your Harry, yours and Craig's thoughts after. I think there's probably a couple players that I would like to see just come out and maybe just I think that I've earned that rest. Maybe like what Liam touched on there. I think it would be good to see probably Rocky come out and get a rest. He's played every minute. I think I would look to bring Josh Campbell out potentially for that. Moving O'Hara into the middle of the back three, bringing Lewis Miller in, probably bringing Rudy in for Campbell. And I'm loathed to say it with Gale and Boyle, but I think Gale especially probably needs a little bit of a break as well. Definitely tired in the second half. So maybe 3 or 4 changes, nothing too hectic. Yeah, that would be the one. They would be the changes for me. Maybe Chris Cadden as well. Obviously went off early at the weekend, but I don't know that you can take Cadden and Rocky out because then it's like,
No.
what are you doing there? So, couple changes for me, but still needs to be a strong side. I certainly haven't shown up on Saturday hoping to see Harry McCurdy up front.
You.
That's the
David, I'm just going to pretend that you watch every episode of this podcast, mister. don't you fuck around and put Bursic in goals. I'm not having it. Don't care if we're playing Clydebank or anybody else. Don't put him in goals. End of story. That's the only change I don't want to see. I'm
Going to be
sorry for
Boric
digging at a player
instead.
like that, but I can't deal with the stress of flaps at corners or just flaps at everything in general. Just stress.
Yeah. I genuinely wouldn't actually be surprised to see Bosick in net. But I ordinarily I would say yes, but to be honest, is a goalkeeper really a position that you need to rest? I'm not really convinced. I
Nah.
don't think Jordan Smith will be knackered after the weekend or anything like that. So,
Not especially with a week. It's not like had it
I
been.
mean, really, does a
He
goalkeeper actually get
he
tired?
looked a wee bit fatigued when he jumped for that free kick, to be fair.
Uh, no, to be honest, I don't think our general squad depth actually allows for too many changes. To be fair, maybe one or two, but I get more minutes into Levitt for sure.
Maybe that's
Uh,
a better way to look at it, Craig. Is there players that you would think you would maybe instead of thinking about the changes, there's just players that you want to see in the team that maybe haven't been other than Leather?
Obviously, Bowie and Miko probably just again to get minutes in the legs because I think it's another option, another viable option. Obviously, we've got a couple even that are on the bench just now that really you look at and you go they're not really viable options at all. It
Or maybe
depends where
Mariah Welsh,
Gray.
maybe?
Yeah, Mariah Welsh as well. I actually forgot about him to be fair, even though I praised him earlier. But it'll be interesting to see how Gray actually views McCurdy because obviously he came on against St Johnstone, and if Gray sees him in any way like an option at all, then he has to play. If he doesn't play, then that tells you everything really that you need to know. I would say.
Hmm.
Uh, if he doesn't play in some sort of part of the weekend, then he's obviously got zero future at Hibs. For me, anyway, I think that would be the obvious takeaway from that one.
Hmm.
Other players I can't even really think, to be honest, who needs minutes. But yeah, I would just go down the line of if there's players that need minutes, give them minutes. You could maybe look at getting a couple of younger options. Rudy would definitely be one that I'd be looking to give some sort of game
Uh,
time as well.
well suited to that game, I think, in place of
Aye.
Campbell, I would say. I think he'd be well suited to that. Like I say, not too many changes though.
Could do the same.
Honestly, like 2 or 3 changes tops. I just don't think it's not necessarily even the players. It's the message it sends out when you make lots of changes like that. I think you just have to go and try and win the game. If you get to a comfortable position, then you can maybe look to get some minutes into some other legs.
I think
Hmm.
Rudy as well could do a relatively similar job and role to what Campbell would be.
Yeah.
Obviously, the shape and everything has to stay the same as well for continuity's sakes as well. So yeah, I
Aye.
wouldn't be a fan of wholesale changes, but once here and there just to get minutes in the legs.
I think we'll see Hoyle start up front with Boyle probably. We have had a wee question come in there though, Liam, about our opposition, and I believe you
Uh-oh.
have been on it. Kieran Flynn has asked if Clydebank have got any noticeable or noteworthy
So,
players for us to look out for.
so I think I mentioned Nicky Lowe last week, who was at Arbroath when they were particularly good in the
Bold.
Championship. Very good left foot. I don't know if he is bald. I think that's maybe like
Oh,
one of
was
those
it?
like slightly unkind
Oh,
sort of
sorry.
remarks. I think he's maybe a bit follically
Really
challenged, but
fine.
not bald.
Follically challenged.
Um, but I think has had a very good career in the lower leagues and over in Ireland for a period of time. They have one other player, and just the vibes on this one worry me a wee bit. So I think we all watched Darvel dismantle Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup a couple of seasons ago. Darvel had a player I think played for them on that game. I've not verified this. I just remember his name. Craig Truesdale played in midfield
Right.
for Darvel that day. He was very, very good. If it's the same Truesdale, um, the vibes on that I don't love. Like a player who has had a pretty significant, probably the most significant Scottish Cup shock in history on his CV. That or Hartsborough. It's a throw up between the two.
Toss a coin at it.
Mick Kennedy took him to East Kilbride shortly afterwards, and now he's ended up at Clydebank. Just throwing it out there. I just don't like the. We're on a really good run at the moment, and sometimes being on a really good run is like the worst thing facing a lower an opposition you're just expected to go in and smash in the
Mhm.
Scottish Cup because you can be complacent. I think we just have to really guard against complacency and just go out and get the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry, you mentioned it. I think in the group chat, obviously we lost to Kelty in the summer in different circumstances, on the back of a couple good wins prior to that, and then we'd made a fair few changes and obviously lost the game. Do you have any concerns, or is the mood music still feeling pretty positive?
No, like I think the guys are spot on. I think like you've got a full week. If we had a midweek game, like the Ross County game, if that was coming up on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, I'd 100% say change 5 or 6 players. But they've got 7 days of rest afterwards. So
Yeah.
for me, I think take a couple of players out and then you put in some players that'll have minimum impact. Like not trying to be funny. If we put Harry McCurdy in and he scored a hat trick, that's not going to make a League One or League Two side in England want to sign him. So yeah, there's no benefit for us for starting players that we aren't actually going to give proper minutes to. So for me,
Maybe Luke Amos will get a couple clips that he can actually put on in a Hibs shirt in his next LinkedIn post.
the less I say about Luke Amos on the podcast, the better.
Did Luke Amos play against Kelty Hearts?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, I'm
I
almost
think so.
certain.
No, I think he
Amos,
did. I think he did.
Amos and Levitt in midfield, was it?
And Harry McCurdy up front and Megwa left back.
See, David Gray's going to have learned from that, and like I think he'd have seen the reaction after the defeat. I just don't see him taking any risks, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if we went full noise and just tried to blow them away.
You know what I heard there? I heard justice for Levitt because that's disgusting. Sticking him with that, like that's
No,
ridiculous.
no,
Yeah,
I'm
we
not putting them
we didn't
together.
actually make
Nah.
too many changes that day, by the way. Like it wasn't like wholesale. Do you know what I mean? Like
But
it wasn't.
the Hibs fan on Sportsound made a really good point on call Andrew Stobie or Scobie or something,
was
I think
good.
his name was. He said he was
Yeah, it
brilliant,
was.
and he said he should maybe give this podcast and try a go. He'd probably better than us for. He made a remark about there only being 3 players in the starting lineup that played against St Mirren that played yesterday. So you see the evolution and the change between the opening of the season and the end of the transfer window, the number of different players that are in there. And I think that was just a really interesting point because,
One of them being Levitt as well. Do you know like that? He was one of the
yeah,
3 that started both games.
I've now just got that team up on screen and it's actually not that weak, but I think you do look at it and go, Kanayo Megwa at left back, Rudy Milotnikov hadn't really played any first team football up until that point playing. And then obviously Harry McCurdy, I don't think he'll put his team out that's as
No.
changed as that, shall we say.
Do you think it's noticeable? I think it says that they're going to play. That there appears to be at least a couple of days off at the start of this week. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously, social media is a wonderful thing, and you can see a couple of the players have obviously taken the opportunity to recharge their batteries on various trips and whatnot. Like that almost says to me that like it's like go away, mouse, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, back in Wednesday, back at it, prep for the game, and take it seriously. And ultimately, look, in our current form, I said fourth and Hibs are winning the cup. Who says no? Who says fucking no?
Clyde.
Just got to beat Clydebank, eh?
Play bank.
I was going to say, nah. Give me a wee score prediction from for you all, and then we'll wrap ourselves up. Liam, you first.
Harry?
All right. I'm going to go a hard fought 4-1.
Oh, I thought even conceding a goal on Saturday gave me the fear.
Big after you.
I think Gray's just going to go strong early doors, get the job done, and then I think we'll cruise it. So I'm going to say 3-0 Hibs, and it'll be 3-0 at half time, and then it'll be the shittest second half you've ever watched in your life.
6-0 Hibs.
That's absolutely ridiculous, Ewan. Give them some credit. They're unbeaten this season. 6-1 Hibs. Come on, the cabbage. Yes.
Oh, and of course, guys, just how good is your match day experience at Easter Road? Because that is the important question that's been sent around all season ticket holders today. It's a well-timed survey, and it on the back of a nice running form.
See, that really annoyed me because I didn't want to go in two-footed to start with, so I'm actually not gonna. But I wanted to throw the question out there. Maybe there's some guys that can recall this. Maybe Ewan actually, because I know he's quite often quite good at recalling random things. But did they normally? We've had a couple of these types of surveys. Do they normally say anything about it at this time of year, or is it just completely coincidental that we're on a great run of form, and now they're sending out a survey about people's match day experience? Like the cynic in me says that the timing isn't coincidental, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, do you ken something that's really funny when people are really pissed off at Hibs? And I think it's really good patter, and I laugh every time I see it. But it's people moaning about they're getting a discount on ball hair trimmers as part of the season ticket package. You can like people will have like a wee whine about the bars and the hospitality and all that. Oh, it's great because at least we've got the biggest screens in the hospitality, and I get 20% off fucking getting my pubic hair trimmed. I think like genuinely see some of the stuff that you get as a discount with the season ticket holder package. It's just like I'm never going to use that. I'm never going to engage with it. Like it's just it doesn't apply to me. You know, I do it, and I get why they do it. You know, it's good to have partners and stuff, but I don't. The match day experience for most of us is just all about winning and losing, and potentially, you know, a wee bit for some of us about the food they sell in the kiosk, which, by the way, has been on a downward spiral now for a number of years, and has somehow managed to probably actually get worse than it was going back all those years ago under the Dempster era.
Did any of you get a pie at the weekend?
No,
Yes.
It didn't even have a tin foil on it, mate.
I was actually going to comment on the food comment that Liam just made there, because I've got to say, like, I can't actually comment at all really on overall food experience because I never deviate from a Scotch pie and Bovril. Like that's just the thing I get all the time. So my personal food kiosk experience has been quite good because they've all been quite solid.
Are you saying the pies are good? No, so I know
Mine's
we
all
might
right. I
be,
think they're all right.
I know we might be stepping on other podcast
uh,
territory here, but the pies at Easter Road are shite, mate.
No, so
One's
me
half
and
a
Craig
decent,
were
right?
queuing the other week, and then there was a lady in front of us who ordered instant hot chocolate, and then the person poured her an instant hot chocolate, and the woman was livid, and she was like, "This is really watery." I was behind her, and I was like, "Fucking, it's really watery. They just put fucking water. It's just hot chocolate
No
granules. What do you
stirring
want?"
either. There was no stirring
I,
No
involved.
stirring. And
You
then
know
she was
yourself
like,
when you get
"Aye, I'll get that Bovril instead." And I was like, "Is
aye.
that not really watery for you?"
Even with a
It's
Bovril, you have to stir it to get the stuff off the bottom.
what,
That's basic.
honestly, there's so many good football food experiences. I remember queuing up at Hampden for like 40 minutes to get a hot dog with one of my mates, and he stood in this queue for this hot dog. He's like, fucking starving. Got to the queue, got his hot dog at Hampden. I went, he's right. He's like, oh, thank God, I got a hot dog. Right, where's the sauce? Where's the sauce? Couldn't find the sauce anywhere. Goes to the kiosk. You got any sauce? No, he sold out of sauce ages ago. He's sitting there with this dry hot dog, having been on the beer all day. Can you imagine anything worse than a dry hot dog?
I'd dip it in something.
Hands up, unless there's barbecue sauce there, and if I'm having a hot dog, I do like ketchup or mustard, eh? So if I was eating it,
You
it
wouldn't
would
have
and neither.
ketchup.
I hate the stuff, mate. Hate the stuff. So
A
I
dry hot
wouldn't.
dog?
Well, I wouldn't order it. I wouldn't, I wouldn't.
Nah.
But if it was, I'm just hands up. If that was the situation, it would be dry. Hopefully, it's
That's
dripping in grease or
disappointing.
something to moist it up a bit.
we're
Yeah,
tangenting to fuck. But mind when we got to Villa at halftime, they'd ran out of fucking everything. Like they'd
uh,
forgotten the fact that there was like
uh,
however many Hibs fans coming down the road.
ended up with a
remember
bag
that
of
well.
Walkers and a whisper. That was terrible.
Remember that
Shocking.
night well. Remember that night really well.
Nah, I bet you did.
Had really good mac and cheese at Inglestown watching a really shite version of Foul and I had a great night. It was a lot of fun.
GXM's are the great show. Get the £2 pizza guys into the East Stand. I'm all
Is
for it.
that good? Aye, I've no,
Solid. It's
aye.
solid, mate. Absolutely solid. And you can't complain for what you get. Nice, good variety of pizzas as well. It's absolutely solid. No
The
complaints.
idea behind it feels to me it's like it's the sort of place that like you go on a city break in Europe, you go, oh, that's class, and you come back and you
Aye.
tell everyone like, oh, the size of aye.
Is this
Anyway, we're verging really close into doing the shops and rate your meal deal and all the shit that we've done in the past that everyone's fucking on our season ticket holder and our subscriber surveys we've got told to fucking get to fuck. So
Can it?
let's wrap this up here, boys. Hibs are a top six side for the first time this season. We're pushing for Europe. It's Scottish Cup weekend. It's fourth round. Come on, the fucking Hibs. Cheers.
On the Hibs.
cheers?
I'm ready to press the button, so you have to press it, mate.
Oh, we were still on it when you said that.
Aye.
Class.